Hey, top of the morning to you. You caught me with my knife blade open there as I'm sharpening a pencil. I'm Michael, or as the grandkids call me, Roo. Welcome to Roodoodles 857, or just Roodoodles. You know, why Roodoodles? People ask me that all the time. Got a lot of new people on the show. They say, why is it Roodoodles? I say, well, I'm Roo and I doodle. Simple as that. Thanks for being on the show. I'm going to say good morning to you. I'm going to finish scratching my pencil into a new point here. My dad always said, sharpen it with your pocket knife because you never know when you're going to need a sharp pencil to throw into a cardboard box while you're sitting there on the lunch site having a tomato mayonnaise sandwich. All right, so I don't have a pencil sharpener up here in my studio, my office studio. I have a studio downstairs, and so. But I thought I'd just say hello to you this morning. Let me see, is this thing working correctly? I believe you can see me right there. And I've got a cup of tea this morning, a little cup of Builders. Make mine a Builders. You know what Builders tea is, right? Builders tea is that tea that I purchased, oh goodness, what, 10, 12 years ago when I started buying it. You know, they're not a complete sponsor of my show yet. But actually, they've sent me a cool hat, and they sent me a box of tea. And hey, guys, I'm about out. Would you send me some more tea? And I sent them a painting in their California office. They're from London, Britain. And the box is a black box with a yellow construction ribbon around it, or yellow like caution ribbon. And it says, this Britain wasn't built on chamomile. That's what it says. And I said, I got to try this tea. By God's good grace and just the humor in life, and in that order, I love the tea. And so it's dark. It's English breakfast tea, but it's like punch, 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 about 3 leaves more than you can buy in the States. I also like Thai food tea. That's a good tea. It's rich. It's full. I can leave the tea bag in there. It sounds like I'm doing a tea commercial. Maybe I should be. All right. So I want you to have a cup of something as you join in this morning. Let me say hello to some of you who are just jumping on. And let's see. Liz, thank you for being, she says, I'm on time once for this morning. Me too, I think I said back. Good morning, Rue and crew. Blessings from Tamberley. Lori Stanley, Henderson, Handelmeyer, your painting is boxed like this, and it's on the way. It's got do not bend stamped all over it. It should make it just fine. Keep me posted. Joy, it was mailed before the new year. But hey, the mail has been crazy this year. And I received a couple emails this morning that said, I never received an invoice for something I bought. And I said, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that I'm here this morning. I'm actually supposed to be in a federal court case as a juror. I've been called in, but I'm on standby. So I don't know how they'll respond when they asked me. They said, what do you do? And I said, I paint watercolor online. How's that going to look on court? And so I don't know how we're going to do with that, but there may be a snafu in my Wednesday class. If there is, we'll just add on some days. Those of you who've registered, thank you so much. I'm going to leave. I haven't gotten the page open yet. It's a private page you've been invited to. If you've registered for Roodoodles for my painting class, you can do that at roodoodles.com. I'm going to leave the registration open today just because I'm waiting on jury duty and see what's going to happen. But I'm putting some videos and some lessons on there that you can look at. And at the same time, those are going to be live. The first one's scheduled for January the 6th. That's this coming Wednesday. I usually open it up 2 or 3 days ahead, so I'll still make it by probably tomorrow morning if I have to go out and be a part of this, whatever it is. We know nothing. But I've called in for jury duty. Got to go serve if I need to. Couldn't just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm ill, because I'm not. And so we'll go see what happens. So let me continue to say hello as I tell you some stories here. Joy, hello, Linda, Carol, Todd, Roodoodles. That's me. Hello, me. Elise McQuillan, thank you for being on the show this morning. And Belinda and Alice Durham and Donna Barton and Donna Bullman. I don't know what it is in life, how you two always sign in right together, but it's pretty remarkable. Donna and Donna. I might just start saying Donna Square. Dorothy, thank you for being on the show. On the board for the mountain trail. On board for the mountain trail. I love it. Thank you very much. I got a little mountain shot here that I thought we'd look at this morning. I don't know why my camera is not focusing today. I've been out of my studio for a couple days. Maybe it's just tired. This is what I posted this morning, and I just ripped a page out of my mixed media page. I'm going to paint that this morning. Just show you where I was, okay? Terry Tardy, talking about Coos Bay, Oregon yesterday, met a young man from Oregon who owns a coffee shop in Waynesville, North Carolina. We had a great conversation about the beauty of Oregon. And he said, oh my gosh, Coos Bay, it's just, I can't tell you how beautiful it is. That's what he said to me. And I told him about Terry Tardy Turquoise. Patricia Brooks, thank you, my friend. Welcome to the morning show. I'm glad you're up and healthy. Kathy Taylor, Foggy, Minnesota. Barbara Meyer, thank you for being on the show. Trish Brown, Annette Hensland, thank you for being here. Jennifer Yentes, wow. Happy first Monday of 2001. Is that amazing? I've been painting 194 days today. I think that's correct, 194. I'm not really worried about keeping them. And here is from Chile, Niagara, Sheila Hunt. Thanks, Sheila, for being on the show. Ooh, up above the Fingerling Lakes there near Rochester. Is that what we're talking about, Niagara? Paulette Kimpton, thank you for being on the show. And Jean Anthalzer, Denise, Skeeter Powell, welcome. Renee, good night. Mary Jones, look at all you people piling on this show. I'm so glad you're here. Morning, Bob from the Mirthful. From the Mirthful cornfields of Iowa. Mirthful. I love it. Bob, we know in your stocking at Christmas there was a Nuthosaurus, and man, we appreciate you. I was telling some friends about adjectives this week, and it's pretty funny. Have to get a pocket knife. Margie, if you don't have a pocket knife, get in the club, for heaven's sakes. Come on, you should never be out in your painting supplies, your painting bag without. You know, even a small pocket knife is good. Let me switch away the desk shot here just for a second so you can see what the desk shot looks like. There it is this morning. I've got a piece of mixed media laying out here. I had this painting I did. This is a little Swiss Army knife. You can sharpen a knife with this if you have to. I went through the airports with this little knife in my painting bag, and they didn't say a word. They said, what's that? I said, it's a pencil sharpener. And the guy looked at me and he goes, it's a pencil sharpener. It looks like a pocket knife. And I'm going like, you kidding me? A country boy wouldn't be caught carrying a pocket knife this small. That's a pencil sharpener. You'd like me to show you? You just hold a pencil like this right here. You don't ever sharpen a pencil like this, people. Don't do it. No, you have no control over this. That's good if you're watercolor painting, but this is tight. You turn the pencil like this, your thumb's out of the way, and you bring those little shavings back to you just like this. And you turn it slowly with this hand. Look at that. You got to practice that while you listen to some great music. What you should do that. Let's put on some music here, and let's listen to some Beethoven this morning. How about Symphony Number 9? Do I have it here anywhere? In D minor. I don't hear it playing, do you? Oh yeah, maybe it's there. Ooh, I hear it coming up. You know how orchestras are. They start off like they're sneaking up on something in the woods. Okay. Hey, let me go to the run scene. And I think this is going to work today. I'm up here in my water jar. I'm sharpening my pencil. Got it sharpened. And let's paint the mountains if we can. So I'm going to talk about my trip. I'm going to paint, talk about old friends. I had to change the cartridge this morning. Got in here, sketched so much over the weekend that I ran out of ink in my little ultra-fine Kakuna fountain pen. Had to change that out. You know, they just unscrews right here. The old cartridge pulls out, ka-tunk, and you put the new one in. And yeah, I use their black cartridges that I ordered from Pilot. I like that ink. I like the way it bleeds. I like it. Sometimes you would not want to be sketching, friends, and run out of ink in the middle of a sketch. So if you change it before it goes completely dead on you, you don't drain the whole cartridge. You don't have to prime the pump. It's still got some liquid in there. I like this pen because it's clear. I can sort of see when I run out. But, okay. Hey, I've got a little piece of, so carry pocket knife. This is, of course, my daily carry, which I've already been told. Don't bring that to the court. But Swiss Army. All right, so the orchestra's cranking up. Do I have another piece on here? Oh, yeah, look. One more piece in this. Better order some paper. I'm not painting on Kilimanjaro first thing this morning. I will before the day's over. This is what I normally paint on, Kilimanjaro, Cheap Joe's paint. There's a little shot. This is what gave me the idea right there. I was talking to a friend about a diner he's working on, and he wanted to see a logo that I did a few years ago that had a mountain scene in it at a coffee cup, and the smoke from the coffee cup is going up and swirling and creating the roads. And so that's what I painted. So here we go. No pencil sketch. Well, I could, but let me show you what it's going to look like. Here, let me just use the back of this one. So what I want to do is, these aren't Rocky Mountains. These aren't the mountains that look like this and they got the snow peaks. Those are, I don't know where those are. Maybe the Coors, Wilson Range out in Colorado, out near Telluride and Ouray. They have some mountaintops like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the mountains that I grew up in, the Smoky Mountains, the Appalachian Mountains. And hey, for those of you who don't live in the South, it's not Appalachian, okay? It's not that lay down and go to sleep mountains, but they are. This is the Appalachian Mountains, okay? They'll lock you in with their beauty. It's Appalachian Mountains, and that's there's a lot of A's in there. So the mountains are more sweeping like this. You know, they sort of have high places and low places, and they're cut in. So literally, you can't make a mistake when you're drawing them. It's like drawing 7-layer salad. You know, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers there, and there's not a whole lot of sharp peaks on them. Mount Shortoff, which is over by Lake James, between here and Asheville, I'm in Charlotte, has a pretty sharp bluff or cliff. And then there's Grandfather Mountain, which is up near Beech Mountain or Boone. I know my mountains, by the way. But I spent a lot of time around Middle Mountain and Thur's Knob and Frosty Knob. And so they were all kind of like this. And they weren't real sharper. So that's kind of what I'm gonna sketch this morning, okay? So let's get going. I'll just do a morning sketch and we'll see what happens. Cool day in Florida. Morning from Riderwood, Washington. Washington has some magnificent mountains. I thought your story about your dad a few times. Oh, thank you. My story about my dad. Several of you commented on that about my dad just sending me or calling me, and saying, "Hey, come home. I'm going to die on Thursday." And he did. Did do the parade with my friend's funeral. Was just, his memorial service was just off the chain, unbelievable, magical. Dads talking about their father and how he loved life and how he loved God and how he loved his wife and how he just was, he loved art and he was a photographer. It was just marvelous. And the music, all the boys are musicians. They told stories and played songs. Just unbelievable. Oh man. It was that good. It was better than that good. Oh, my husband just came down the hall saying Roo's live. And thank God for that, okay? Because it's hard to paint when you're dead. I did see a lady on television the other day that looked like we needed to notify her face and tell her that she was still living. So if you're ever going to do a show like this, at least smile sometimes so that people know that there's a little bit of life left in your face, okay? All right, here we go. Let's draw the mountains this morning. Get a cup. Let's go. I grew up in the foothills of North Carolina mountains. I miss them dearly, Jimmy Hazelwood says. Hey, you know what, Jimmy? I was just in Was I just in Hazelwood? Yes, Hazelwood is a town near Waynesville. But that's ironic, isn't it? In fact, they were going to name their diner Hazelwood, and I said, I think you need to call it Haywood, but we'll see how that happens. All right, so this is a piece of mixed media paper. It's 184 pound. It's slick. You hear me talk about, especially as we get into the class, you're going to hear me talk about cold press paper, hot press. Hot press is like ironing with a hot press, and it makes your cotton shirt slick as glass. It's like when they come from the cleaners. Cold press is when you just take it out of the dryer on a cool tumble and you just put it on. And it's still got some wrinkles in it, but it feels comfortable. Paper is like that. Paper has tooth. It has tooth. It holds on. Paper towels hold on to paint. Slick paper, the paint runs, so it can be a little freer. It's kind of funky to draw on. So I'm going to change pens even after I started all that. I'm going to grab this stylus pen, which was sent to me by some friends out in off the island, out off Washington, and the Nelsons. Sheila and Ned sent me this pen. He's an architect, and he uses these pens. It's called a stylus. Some of you have tried it for a long time here with me on this show. Stylist. Hey, I'll have a dozen stylus. So what's this? The reason I'm using this pen is because I know something about this pen. Here's what I know. Watch. I know this about this pen. I know that if you take a watercolor brush, in this case a bamboo brush, put a little bit of clean water on it, and you sweep it through this pen, look what it does. It bleeds this beautiful blue-gray, a little bit of Payne's gray, just a touch, a hint of purple maybe coming in here. Some turquoise. Look at the color of this. And you know what that looks like? To me, that looks like mountains off in the distance. So why would I worry about mixing up a color that look like mountains when I've got a pen that already replicates it? This is the power of watercolor in journals. You just get to try what you have. Don't go out and spend a fortune on painting supplies if you're just beginning. Just paint with what you can find laying around and do it. Some of your best work may be accidental in discovery. Boy, that's not saying much for painting class teachers, is it? But hey, my job is to get you to paint, is to get you to get behind the mule. That's one of my rules. Just get behind the mule, get the tools that you want to start with, and just start. Just start plowing. Just start saying, giddy up, let's go. And do it every day while you're having tea. And in fact, if I weren't drinking this tea, I'd show you what would happen if I dipped this brush in the tea and painted here. I may finish this painting with a little tea just to show you. Okay, so I know this pen that I used, okay, back to my story. This pen that I just used is going to do this. So that's the colors I think I want my back mountains. And so I'm just going to go in here. I'm not worried about making this centered. I'll worry about cropping it and the composition of it later. And so I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to start those rolling mountains of western North Carolina. There's the one in the background like that. Look at that. It's just a crooked line. I saw a crooked line. Let me go in just a tad here if I can. Hold on. Let me just go in. Let me see if I can focus right there. I'm going to focus on that pen and then get this out of the way. Boom. All right. That gives you a little better. The very light line here. I might add a little color to this line. But I'm going to come in front of this one right here and just drop another little knob in there. Let it run down. Okay? And then I'm going to pull one out here and then one this way. So I've just done my 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. I might put another little layer coming down here like this. And then I might put one here that's got just some going off into some brush or rough mountains up this way. And maybe this gets blocked from my view. Maybe there's a tree here in my journal as I'm sketching this. I don't remember seeing it, but there we go. There's something. And I can always crop this into here. So see, I just built this little mountain range. But what I want to do is I want to create maybe just some little roads coming down these mountains here. This is a fall painting, so I don't need, or excuse me, a winter painting, so I don't need to worry about roads. But look at this. What I do want to do here in a minute is I want to come out of here with a road that kind of comes down like this. It's nice music to paint this with. Dun, 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 dun. And look at that. That little road that's coming out of the mountains like that is going to wind up. Ooh, look at this. Here's my painting. It's going to wind up with me looking at this coffee cup. And I think I'm going to let the handle turn in like this. So now I'm tilting my cup over. You're getting some shadow, but I'm tilting my cup over. You see this cup? Oh, man, I just spilled tea all over my painting. Well, now I have some tea to paint with. Perfect. I'll just use it. Don't you love a little accident? I swear I didn't mean to do that. All right. Here, I'll just start painting with this tea. I dropped it on the painting. So I'll just sweep it in there. Let me roll it up. Let me just dry that off a little bit right there. I'll just use this tea and start pulling those lines together. All right. I am absolutely reckless and crazy. There's just no doubt about it. Look at that. Look, I just painted it. When I was going to say, I'd love to show you what this tea looked like. I just spilled it. So what I was looking at sideways over here is that I'm holding my coffee cup at an angle. You know how, can you see this mug? It flares. Look at this. So I'm going to draw that flare. The thing I like about diner mugs is they flare. My friend and I had that comment when we were talking about building his diners. Now I'm not going to draw my diner mug with the same pen that I drew my mountains with because I don't want it to bleed the same color. So I'm going to go right here. Here's where a pencil might really come in handy if you want to try this and you're not too good at drawing cups yet. But look at this. I'm going to draw. Now this is foreshortening, so this cup is way out front. And then the mountains are way back in the background, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to do the little flare down like this. Fat on the bottom. I don't think you can see that coming in right there. Then I'm going to come down a little bit like this. And then I'm just going to let that handle go out here and come around like this and back in. Oh, such nice music to sketch a coffee cup with. Beethoven must have been a masterful genius, you know? Just think about what he did. Okay, so I'm going to come in with my pen. Let's see, let me just use an 05 Pentel pen here. And I'm just going to draw this pen in. And look, I could have done it with a pen because I should be able by now to do enough coffee cups that you would think the guy could figure out how his mug cups look. And then maybe I'll just pick up some of this and tie right back into that road right there. Okay, so I'm going to take my paper towel and get some of this blue out, or this brown out of there like this. And then I'm going to reach in. All right, so let me get my coffee cup out of the way. So you see what I've started? Now, why would I sketch this? I sketch this because I carry a journal with me, and I carry a few paint brushes, and I carry a little pan of paints with me. You know, I've got a few in a little box here like this. And so I carry this around, and so I'll stop for a few minutes. I'll have a cup of coffee. Yesterday in Waynesville, North Carolina, I went into the coffee shop, and I said, I don't want a cup of tea. I just had 2 cups of tea today, and I think it's too early in the afternoon for a cup of coffee, but I want a hot chocolate with some whipped cream. And so it was steaming when I got it with fresh whipped cream that had just been whipped up right there. And these people do it right. Guy's been here 2 years from Oregon, and they came in. And so I said, okay, that's what I want. Make me happy. And so he did, man. He put this together. So for me, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you this. I put some water on these paints. This is my palette. I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of blue, just aquamarine blue. I'm going to make sure I don't have too much on this brush. So I'm reaching up here and hitting a little piece of a napkin. Can you see that, a paper towel? And I'm just putting some blue in here. The reason is because off in the distance, these mountains look as blue as they can look. They just have this great blue tinge to them. So somebody's singing opera this morning. That's good. It could be exciting to paint too. How about something in the 5th? We'll do the 5th here, not the 9th. Na 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 na. All right. So if that's too much blue, I can come in. But watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a bigger brush, and I'm going to go get a little bit of green, just some sap green and maybe some earthen green. And I'm just going to touch that in the lower part of these mountains. Why? Because they're closer to me. So I'm just giving them a little more outline right here with this brush. I'm going to go in and touch a little green in there. Some of you have painted some beautiful landscapes. I'm just rushing through this to give you an idea of what I do in my journal sometimes. This is how I start a new painting, or this is how I get my mind in the place where I'm going to be for a while. The sky was in the afternoon, so guess what's happening? Some of the clouds and the fog had cleared, so we're getting a little push of a sunset getting ready to happen. Sunsets sometimes are, don't worry about this over here. We'll just crop this painting right here. There, I'll just draw a line. That's where that's going to start. I'm coming with a little bit of a purple there, just because, not Purple Majesty, but I thought of that just as I said it. We're just going to come in, and then maybe a little bit of gamboge just right in here where the sun's setting. Some strokes in there. Look at that. That's cool. This is wet on wet because this is remember I said this is a slick piece of paper. So, can I come in and clean up some of those lines and add to them? Yeah, I can. I got this road going way up the mountain and this one coming down. So while I let that dry for a second, I'll go to my coffee cup. This is the #1 bamboo brush. I paint with these a lot. I don't know what Beethoven's favorite fruit is. Coconut, I guess. I don't know what that would be. So now you're going to type and tell me. But I'm always up for a good dad joke. Banana. Thank you, Sheila. I see it coming right there. Dorothy says, I can see the Blue Ridge Mountains from my porch. Every time you did the swoop, the H, the music went zoof. Yes, of course it did. You know why? Because subconsciously or consciously, I'm listening to it. So I tend to paint to music quite often. All right, I'm going to take my paint here, and I'm going to reach in, and I'm going to grab some of this French gray, which when I started painting 10 years ago, Cheap Joe's called it Sag Harbor Gray. Don't you love that? You know why he called it Sag Harbor Gray? Because that guy loved to sketch up in Bar Harbor, Maine, and all those little harbors. And it really is like the color of fog coming up over the mountains. And that's what I'm going to go back in here. And you see where this line broke apart, where water on water? It broke the edges of those mountains. So there's no hard line there, which sometimes there's a hard line. The horizon, but sometimes you get this fuzz of the fuzz between the fog and the horizon and the clouds that are seeping through. I love that. This is supposed to be soft on purpose. This is not supposed to be a hard painting. I'm just going to look for something in my palette here that looks like the ground, the dirt. I got some raw umber over here. I got some just mush pot, leftover beef stew over here. That's what it looks like. Just going to grab some of that right here. And just with a damp brush, go in there and scrub a little off my palette. This is why you don't clean up your palette too much. And I'm just going to go in here and just grab a little bit of earth. It had a little bit of black touch in it. If it's too much, I can always go in and just erase some like this. Or I can just add a little more water. Now, what I'd recommend is you paint one of these on a piece of hot press paper or mixed media paper. And then I recommend that you paint one of these on some 100% cotton paper, cold pressed paper that has tooth, and watch the difference and watch what comes out. Now, the mountain's closer to you. You might have to paint this 30 times until you get it correctly. This is just my first little journal attempt, okay? That's all I did here. Take a look. This is just mostly pen. See how cool and smooth that looks? Okay? This one's got some rougher edges. Don't want to clean those edges up? Easy to do. I can go in with a little fountain pen right here. Watch this. Just go in here. Just bring that edge down like this. Okay, come back in, sweep a little bit more of this blue-green. A little turquoise in there wouldn't hurt. There's a little too much green right there, so I'm going to just fan that out with some liquid. And then I'm going to come and just grab a little bit of turquoise and put it right in there. Watch this. Just bend that over a little bit. You ever think of turquoise being on the mountains? But then you don't think of purple. You think all skies are blue until you get outside sometimes. You go, look how much pink and striping is in the sky. Look, I'm painting what I remember. I'm not looking at a picture. I'm painting what I thought it looked like to me. I'm not painting it like a picture that I took. I didn't take a picture of this. I just stood and looked at it for a little bit, sipped my coffee, stood in the sunshine around the old courthouse there and looked out across the mountain, and I went, that's a view right there. So I just sort of took my hand. One time I actually think I took my pen out of my pocket, the pen that I carry all the time. Oh, my fountain pen just fell off the desk as I said that. And I took my pen and I just sort of went like this. That seems silly, doesn't it? And yet, maybe I was directing that orchestra, but the other thing that I was really doing was I was making a note of, like, the high mountain was on my left, which was really in the western part of the mountain. So the sun had creeped down, but the lower part was here, so I could still see the sunset. So I did that in my mind. So I locked it in. So that's what you do when you're journaling sometimes. I want you to get in the habit of doing that. And we're going to talk about that. Last class, 2 classes ago in October, I did a whole lot about journal. And I will tell you something. Here's what I found, those of you who are going to be in the art class with me. We're going to go back and do that a little bit, because here's why. Your painting quality jumped up several notches when you got over trying to do a painting and started just doing sketching and painting what you see daily. That will change how your hand and your brain and your heart connects things. So we're going to do a few sessions in that, where you just go back and say, what did you see today? What did you paint? Did you paint your camera on the tripod? Did you paint a musical instrument? Did you paint a different kind of dog? Did you paint a rooster that you saw? Okay. So that's kind of where this is going. All right. So I'm going to stop and get on a rooster this morning, but I want you to see how easy it is to just do a little landscape painting, and with tea, with coffee, with whatever you've got. So these are going to dry differently. So come back to it. And am I done with this? Probably not. I might come back and throw a little more pen in here. I might on this one here, I might come in and just add another little road coming down. I might do the same through here. I might add some of this pen like this. You think you can see me just scratching it down here? I see an office every day, and that says, Annette, if you got a window, every now and then just go look out and find me a Volvo 240D and L and do the whole side view of an old Volvo. Man, my son did a Volvo with a Christmas tree on it and said, bring a Christmas tree home. And it was one of my favorite paintings. So my point is, when you see an office every day, something's sitting on your office. And that's how I learned to sketch coffee cups. Sketch your coffee cup 50 times. Okay, I'm picking on you, but I get it. We have clouds that look like mountains here in Florida. Yes, you do. I lived down there for a while. Excuse me. Good morning from Minnesota. Good morning, all. Man, thank you guys for being on the show this morning. Love to have you aboard. I like accidental paintings. Yes, Chris Whitaker, you do a good job at this. Or is it Whitaker? All right. Jeffrey Wilcox, I don't even know where Keter Argus is. Keter, what is that? Cattaraugus. Tell me where that is, man, and maybe I'll try to see it. Les, you asked me, do I prefer hot press or cold press? I probably paint 95, 98% of my paintings on cold press, and I try to paint them on 100% cotton because here's why. The undulations, there's that word again, the roughness of the cold press cotton paper grabs pigment and shows it on different facets. It's not as flat. There's a little more of the light hits it differently, and I like that little rise in paper. You can't see it on this show, but what I'd like to tell you is if I could take my ladybug over here, I wish she would come over here. Come over here, lady. Come over here on my paper. I keep a ladybug in my studio. There she is right there. Can you see her right here? There she is. She just got on the mountains here. Walk through the mountain. Can you walk through the paint there for me? Here she goes. There she goes. All right, so the ladybug has no problem. If she were walking on this, she just cruise right across. If she were walking on cold press, she'd be going like, hey, it's a bumpy road out there. Do you see my illustration, as silly as it is? Whoa, she almost flew off. All right, get back over here. She sits on top of the speaker because she loves classical music, apparently. All right. I put one out the other day, and I think it hitched right on my sweater back in. If you can see this, though, and you can't, I don't even know if you can hear it, but this is smooth. You didn't hear that. And this, listen. That's me dragging my finger over the paper. So here's the way you're going to figure that out, Liz. You're going to decide the style of paint that you become. You're going to find your artistic voice. We're going to do some of that in the class, which we've done with other artists before. Every time artists suddenly go, that's what I want to use, their art jumps up a notch. And that's why you keep doing this. That's why you stay behind the mule. That's why you try to be loose. You don't want to have an art class that says, you got to tighten up, people. You got to tighten up. No. Tightening up is for orchestras. Because you don't want to hear the orchestra being loose. You want to hear the orchestra hitting all the right notes. You don't want to hear them sliding into everything. But then there's that time in New Orleans when you want to hear the wake band saying, loosen up, man. Just play what you want. And so that's kind of my style. All right? Okay, here I'm gonna turn into some. I'm not gonna turn into it, but I'm gonna open this Kilimanjaro paper. This is a original bright white paint book. It's 140 pound. Don't be confused by 300 GSM. If you ever see the number 300 first, you're gonna buy some heavy paper. 300 pound. This is 140 pound. It's cold pressed. Someone sent me a note. Good catch. They sent a note and said, oh my gosh, I opened my Kilimanjaro paper. This is it right here. I'm ripping off a page. It just comes off like that. And on the paper, I saw this watermark. You see it? Can you see it right there? Look, there's a great shot of it. Look right at my thumb. Kilimanjaro. Sometimes it just says Jaro, or sometimes it'll say Mano, or sometimes it'll just be how it's cut on the paper. That's not a bad thing. Don't try to get that off. That's because they stamped the paper in cotton to let you know this is quality stuff. I love watermarks. I love it because it tells me that that's an original painting too. When you look and see a watermark, you go, oh my gosh, this is original. I have the first one, because you can't you can't press a watermark on a copy. Okay? So while I was in the mountains having good coffee, visiting with old friends, good friends. Here's you know that old song by Harry Chapin's brothers, Stephen and Tom. They wrote it with Harry's old friends. I can do this. Old friends, they mean much more to me than the new friends. It doesn't mean that you guys aren't important. You're a new community, though. You're only 194 days old. I met with friends this week that we started walking together 31 years ago. We started talking and raising our children together, and then seeing their spouses, and then seeing grandkids, and we're still together. And we've been through thick and thin and pain and suffering. And yeah, there's been a COVID in there, and there's just been all kinds of conditions and drama and life. And so here's what we know about that song that Harry's brothers did. It's called "Old Friends. They mean much more to me than the new friends, 'cause they can see where you are and they know where you've been." That is powerful. And when we've been together several years, you'll go, I know where that guy came from. People will look at your work and say, I remember when you used to just try and do stick figures and you couldn't even draw a stick. And now look, You found your style. You found your voice. That's why you stay behind the mule. Okay? So this is good paper. While we were there with old friends, we talked about cast iron and coffee and roosters. And so I made me think about a couple mountain roosters that I saw driving through this little town. And I saw this wiry rooster. And so wiry, and so there are two definitions that I use sometimes with roosters. One is wiry. He's wiry. He just looks wiry. And then the other is squirrely. So here's a wiry rooster right here. Okay, so I'll just show you a quick little wiry rooster. He doesn't have to be perfect at all. He's kind of rough all over. He's got, you see, I'm not even trying to make smooth lines. I'm just sort of chopping at my pen here as I bring it in. Look at this. I'll come up here and I'll come down and I'll come here. I literally am just scratching with my pen. And isn't that a perfect word for a guy who paints roosters? Just scratch along. And look what I did. I got to that watermark. There it is right there. And I just skimmed right across the top of it. Ooh, I love it. In fact, you can see me skimming right through it. And I'm going to paint my ground right in that watermark. Sometimes I actually do make sure that that watermark is at the bottom of my paper because I like to land it down there. And I like people to say, oh my gosh, here's the O of Kilimanjaro right there. And then I'm just going to do some cut marks in here. I'm using a ultrafine flare, tiny, tiny point on it. The flare I'm using, the one that they don't make anymore, but I think you'll figure it out when you find your own pen to do this with. I use it to paint the earth. I like the way it bleeds. Remember, you saw this pen bleed a certain color. This pen bleeds a little different. This pen would be a great pen for my mountain range also, if I were doing a mountain range here like this. And see, I'm ADD, so I can just shift in mid-range, but it's a little bluer than I wanted. See that? But that's great if I'm painting earth. And you think, well, why? And I say, well, I grew up in bluegrass. All right. All right. All right. So this is a wiry roo. So here's how you get into a wiry roo. Watch this. I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to just make him rough. I'm going to add a little bit of dark in here. And I'm going to do that with another fountain pen. You guys see me do this. I journal now. Terry Tardy says only with the 05 pen, needle tip. There you go. See? So, Terry, 180 days ago, you didn't even know what an 05 Pentel pen was, or you never used it. And this is not anything about lack of knowledge. It's just that you had to experience some of the tools that you said branch out a little bit. So you started ordering it, and you go, that pen is perfect. I love what it does. I like it. If I want to go back and touch it with a brush, that's what I just did. No, I didn't. I did this with a fountain pen, but it's an ultrafine. Now I've got a bigger fountain pen, but isn't it fun to find a new tool every now and then? Your paintings will smell good. Had a bizarre dream about chickens last night. I should sketch it. Yeah, Tom Chafin, by the way, is a great musician. He's still on the air. I miss July. It was July 1981 when Harry Chapin had a car accident that took him out of this world. And one of my dreams in life was to meet Harry Chapin, and I'd met some men who had worked with him at the time for some music he wrote, and it really made me want to know him more because of his storytelling ability. So I'm sad I didn't get to meet Tom in this life. Okay, all right. So here we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm ready to paint my wiry rooster, and look at him. How long have I been on talking and doing that? About 3.5, 4 minutes, maybe something like that. Sometimes I glance at my watch, and you know my story there. What does it mean when an old Baptist pastor glances at his watch? Absolutely nothing. Okay. But look how this pen bleeds on this Kilimanjaro paper. Oh, my gosh. I mean, I could do this in black and white and be happy. But, of course, I'm not. I'm going to be unhappy today because I want some color in here. But that's the base that I wanted in the tail. It's got a blue, it's got a Prussian blue, it's got a little bit of a Payne's gray look. That's just the ink in my fountain pen. And this is Speedball ink. Speedball, like you do the prints with. You know, the Speedball inks comes in a little box. It says Speedball on it. I think it probably costs $2. And you can get it at a big box store like a Michael's or a Hobby Lobby. I like Hobby Lobby, actually. I like the guys who run Hobby Lobby. They're pretty cool guys. I built a project for them several years ago. Oh, no, I did it for the Museum of the Bible. But Steve Green, he was a nice guy to meet. All right, so there's a little bit of yellow coming in. I could probably spray this paint a little more with just some water. Let me move this painting over. I take a little spray bottle like this. Somebody say, what do you use a spray bottle for? This one is this one wiry or squirrely? This one's wiry. This one's wiry, okay? So this is my wiry rooster, Linda. Thank you for making me clear that up. Sometimes I paint wiry roosters and squirrely roosters. So this is wiry. I'm just spraying a little water on here. This is a kind of an atomizer bottle. The reason I'm doing that, it just makes it easier for me to reach in those pans and grab the paint I'm chasing here. I'm going to go in just a little like that and refocus right there. Hold on one second. All right, that's the reason I stand up and do that every now and then, just so it helps you at home or wherever you are, in your office, Annette. It's chilly here today, so I'm going to do one more thing before I paint the rest of this. I have another cup of tea. I hope it's tea. Brewing in this little thermos here, and I'm just going to pour some heat in here. I've run out a little. I spilt some of my tea this morning and painted with it, so I need a little more. Warmth. There we go. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. All right, go in here, grab a little red in my brush. Just grab it a little bit right here. Love this. All right, so look, I'm not paying close attention to if I get in between all the lines or not. You guys know I paint like that. Quick sketches are made loose because you just sort of jab at it sometimes. Just jab at it. Hold the brush back here and have fun. I'm giving you some insight to the class. You can still sign up today, Roodoodles, at roodoodles.com. I'll find out about, at 11:30, I've got to call the court and say, hey, do you need me or not? You know, they send all these things out about you, and they want to know what you read last. You know, both sides are trying to put together the jurors. They're saying, what's this guy think like? Is he for this or against this? Is he pro this or con this? Or is he conservative? Is he liberal? So both teams try to put these people together. And so they say, what was the last book you read? So that was one of the questions on the questionnaire. What was the last book you read? I said, the Bible. It was. They said, what was the next book? And I said, The Wright Brothers. The story of building the airplane. Oh, what was the next book you read? I said, How to Make Knives. And they went, oh. So it was. Those are the last 3 books that I've read for the holidays. Part of it was I gave my boys some new knives for Christmas. And so, I wanted them to say, hey, here's the story of this knife. And we're going to make one. So I gave my grandsons knife building supplies. And so they kind of look at me like, I don't know which team this guy's going to be on. So I think maybe that's why I'm going to stand by today. We'll see. All right, I'll do my duty if I have to, but I'm going to we'll find out what it's going to do. So look at this. This guy's kind of wiry, okay? So the wiry to me is that he's just wiry and woolly is probably the thing. So look, I'm going to mix up a little paint. Notice I've been mixing my paint on the painting itself, but now I'm going to mix a little bit. I'm going to grab this. You see me do this a million times. Okay, 194 at least. Grab a little bit of red, put it in here. That's enough to do the legs right there. You know, I could mix up a whole lot more of this, but what's the bother when I might want my other rooster's legs to be a little different? Clean brush going back into my red, just a touch more red right there. That kind of looks a little too orange, so I'm going to go down here and get some raw umber and drop that in. Now I got a little bit of dirty color in there that's kind of fun. So I'm going to go in here and do his legs with this. The cool thing about not having my painting taped down is I can just turn it and make it comfortable. I hate to have my painting taped down in such a way that I feel like I've got to be a contortionist to get to where I'm painting. Just turn the dadgum thing and paint it. You see? That helps you be loose too, because if I do this, it cramps my style. Did you get that? Don't cramp your style while you're painting. You're the artist. You be in charge of how the desk works. You be in charge of where your paper is. Well, my teacher once told me that I had to have everything on a 11 by 14 board, and everything had to be taped down with double tape, and then it had to be at a certain height. I'm going like, that may be how she learned to play the cello, but you play a mandolin. It's not even the same instrument. You got to move. You got to dance. You got to go. You got to move this arm, and this wrist has to be fluid. You see my point there? I'm being facetious, but a little bit. So people say, well, it's hard to get here and get into there. No, it's not. Look, now I'm in my style. My hand is here. It's loose. I'm way up on the brush, and I'm still painting. Okay? So be willing to change sometimes how you approach the piece of paper. I love that turquoise in the middle. That's why I jump into it. You don't think about roosters having turquoise. Well, then you don't think about being on the farm too often because, man, their feathers sometimes just are beautiful. They color out everywhere. Look at the wiriness coming out now. Okay, see that? All right, so look what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in and just take a wet brush, a little wet brush, and I'm going to drop a touch of blue, more blue right in here, like so. And I'm also going to touch just some water. So now I'm just touching some extra water in this painting. Why? Because I'm going to grab something like the end of my brush. Let's say a smaller brush. They're about all the same size. Okay. This is a number 4 American Journey brush. And guess what? Hadn't you taken the label off? Right there it is. It says American Journey 4. There's Cheap Joe's number. I'm just going to take the back of the brush and wet it a little bit. And then I'm just going to drag the brush like this through my paint. There's great music for this. Right, listen. I'm being facetious and over, but it is working, right? You can't deny it. So I just took the back of my brush. Now look, he looks wiry, doesn't he? So I'm just using this brush and dragging it through some of the water, and I'm using the back of the brush. And you're going like, oh, I love these little thin paint strokes. How did you get them? And I go, with this end of the brush, I used a stick. That's all it is. It's a wooden stick. Don't you love that when it happens? I do. In fact, I might just go in here and get a little yellow on the end of my brush like this. Just dipped it in the yellow paint here. And come in and just add something right in there like this. Get a little red on there too. Touch the red. Who ever thought about using the back end of the brush? People say, gosh, your brushes are so worn out on the ends. I go, yeah, because I paint with both ends of them. If I could figure out how to paint with the middle, I'd probably do it. Maybe I'll do it on this next painting. What time is it? Oh, yeah, I got time for another painting. Okay, so look, I'm going to go in and do a little detail. My best detail pen is probably the 07. And that one's history, so I might have to use an 05. Looks like I'm going to have to put a refill in that one. Is there an 07? Ah, here's one. This is the Pentel Intergel Needlepoint 07. They write pretty well on wet ink, and so wet paint. So I'm just going to go do a little detail. I'm going to put an eye in here like this, and then I'm just going to use this pen, and I'm going to pick up some wing detail with it like this. I'm doing the same thing. Remember, I'm turning it like this because I want to sweep this. I don't want to reach in here and write like this. I want my hand to go the way I want those paintings to go. I'm going to grab my fountain pen, and now I'm just going to do some more wiriness. I'm going to make this rooster look like he just got up out of bed. He's still got bed head, kind of how I look. Yeah, look at this. Oh my gosh, look. Okay. I met a lady this week who said, don't get a haircut. And I said, well, easy for you to say. Look at your son. His hair is like down to here. He's a drummer for this band. And I said, yeah, but I'm only I'm old enough to be his grandfather twice removed. And she goes, yeah, but don't worry about what people think about your hair. And I said, you think I'm starting to do that now? I don't think so. Okay, so there's a little wiry Roo. I like him, actually. I like the way he looks. Look, one of the things I do, by the way, here's just a helpful tip. After I work with my fountain pens in wet, the paper will gum up. I tend to just clean them off a little bit on a clean piece of paper or a paper towel very lightly. Look at the point, make sure it's clean. You don't see me do that sometimes, but trust me, I'm doing it. Fountain pens are a little more high maintenance, and I use a lot of them. So I need you just to be careful with them. The reason I like the Pentel so well is because they tend to just bulldoze through wet paint. I'm going to grab a brush. I'm going to turn my painting up a little bit like this. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to sweep a little water across that fine flare. It's okay if it runs into the feet there. I'm going to grab a little earth and gray and just pull it in with this, like so. I'm going to grab a little bit of, why don't we put a little yellow in there, just lighten up for some fall, winter leaves, and then maybe just a touch of brown on top of that. And for shadow, maybe some shadow back here. And I've got myself a nice little earthen painting. Do I want to come in and put any sky in at all? Maybe if I want to drift in right here, I could just put some water down like so. I'm going to jump off this one. I'll change it later, but I want to go to another painting for you. In fact, yeah, I'll skip one painting. I'll come back and paint squirrely for you tomorrow. This is wiry. I'll paint squirrely for you tomorrow if I'm not at the courthouse. Hey, I like this painting. Good painting, even if I say so myself. Okay. Did the music make me paint a little faster this morning? I think so. Yeah. So, obviously Bach in his time, or Beethoven in his time, was writing rock and roll. The ladybug says so. She's still sitting on my speaker over there. That's really funny, isn't it? And she's been here for, I don't know what she eats. I took her outside and she came back. I could get her to crawl on the painting if she would. Let's see if she will here. See if she'll walk through the paint. Come on. Come on, lady. A grown man playing with a ladybug. Come on, you can do it. It's not toxic. Come on. Uh-oh, she fell over. There she goes. All right, there she goes. Come on, lady. She's right in his foot. Can you see her right there? There she is right there. It's a real ladybug. Crawl right in there. I need some painting from you. Come on. All right, you're done. Never work with dogs and children and ladybugs. I think it was, who was it said that? All right, let me paint one more. Here you go, on rough paper. Ready for this? Here's my wiry Roo. See, I like him. If I want to add some more wire in here, I can do that later as it dries a little bit. Just come in here and do some. When I say wiry, it's kind of like those feathers that just sort of stick out, right? All right, so look, this is what I love about Kilimanjaro. Here's another little flip sheet in front of this one. It's keeping this one clean, but it's also giving me something to just sort of draw on if I want to draw the hen. So when we talked to the man about his new diner coming in town, Barry's a good friend of ours, he said, well, there's got to be a rooster in here somewhere. And I said, well, maybe a hen. Maybe it's a hen with the rolling pin. And so that gave me an idea for a painting. So here we go. Here's a hen with the rolling pin. And I'm going to use my Pentel 05 and finish up the show with this. Looks like my hair in the morning, Chris Young said. W.C. Fields, he was the one. Thank you. W.C. Fields says, never work with children and dogs or ladybugs. All right. It was W.C. Fields. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. All right, so I want this hen that looks like she means business, okay? So I'm going to paint her the same direction also because I'm just on a painting show and I'm not trying to impress or... So here's her big old beak. And here's her round, she has a wattle, but it's not like a split wattle and she's got a like roosters, and she's got a comb, and she's pretty stout. She means business. She's sort of like the main brood hen, and so she's looking good. She's got this leg that comes down like this, and it's she can stand on one leg if she needs to. And brother, today she needs to, and here's why. It's because she's holding the handle of the rolling pin, so it's a little curved here, and it comes up this way. And then this side is a little curved around like this, and comes down. And so then it's got the end, and then it's got the bell on this end too. So there's the rolling pin. So there's the hen with the rolling pin. And so that'd be a good place for me to come back in and just do the same form of ground with this. Just some scratch marks with my ultrafine flare. I think you can see what I'm doing there. All right, when the hen comes out with the rolling pin, she's either going to make biscuits, and she needs some more. She needs an egg or two. She wouldn't really need eggs for biscuit. Maybe she's making cornbread, but All right. I do, I have been doing my biscuits. Of course, I do my biscuits in cast iron all the time, but I also do my biscuits in, I put the butter in the freezer first for about, 30 minutes and sometimes more than that and just freeze a stew out of it. And then I grate it with a cheese grater into my biscuit dough before I put the liquid in, and then work like a maniac quickly, go right into the oven with that frozen butter. Man, does that make a difference? Does a bag of flour make a big biscuit is my question. Okay, so here we go. Um, a little French blue. Here we go. Look at this. Just put it in there like this and maybe just let it roll around a little bit. Just kind of, come on, rain down. There it is. Look, I'm just swinging it around a little bit. Push it. I'm just pushing. I'm really not painting. Okay? I don't know why they call it paint. Oh, because you're working with paint. But we all think that paint, like oil painters, has to have, oh, look at the brush strokes. Look at the brush stroke. I've never heard anybody walk up to watercolor and say, oh my gosh, look at his brush strokes. You say, look how that blended together. Look how that just went. How did he get that to stop right there? You stop there because there's no water there. That's dry paper. Where you don't put water, but creates a dam, a wall. It just says, we're done. We're not going to cross that bridge. That's why you have to be careful with your water when you put it on there. Look at that. She's a little French blue hen. Got a little bit of glare on her, but let's just go in here. Now I'm going to pull just a touch of water in here like this. Just a touch. And also just a touch right here in the wattle. And I'm just going to drop in some of this Joe's Red or Hot Mama Red, if you want to call it that. I've got both of them mixed here. Someone just asked me, what kind of reds do you use? And I said, they're both American Journey. I think I have a new red too. It's called Cadmium Red Medium. It's a great name, Cheap Joe's. But look, it sounds so official. Can you just go back to Hot Mama and Joe's Red? But it is kind of a nice red. And so my paints come in tubes like this, and then I just squeeze them in these little pans, like my earth and green, or this is sap green. They all come in little paintings like this. And I buy the smaller tubes. Let me show you the difference. This is a big tube of gamboge. Look, I use a lot of gamboge. All my roosters' beaks and mostly their shoulders are all gamboge, Gamboge. But I use, it's very difficult to get this paint from this tube into this little pan right here. Okay, this is tough. This is hard enough. So, and it's going to take me a long time to paint that many roosters. But if I buy it in these small tubes, they stay tight. I keep them in a dark place, just in a little box closed on the studio. And when I need one, I just sweep them up. Look, I've still got a little turquoise left. This is called Andrew's turquoise, because Andrew was quite a famous painter, but I call it Terry Tardy turquoise from Coos Bay, Oregon, on here. And so, because she likes turquoise, and so do I, somewhere all my little paintings have turquoise in them. And this is the turquoise I use. In fact, that's it right there. I use ultramarine blue. All this is in, by the way, I just saw a picture of my catalog. I say my catalog page in Cheap Joe's. I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen another copy of it, and it's pretty cool. I like the rooster that I painted on that page. Somebody owns that rooster. I think it might be Neil Mallory, I'm not sure, in Knoxville, Tennessee. I may have shipped that painting to him. Okay. All right, I'm going to change brushes here as we get ready to wind up. It's 9:57 now, which I probably should be going down and getting ready to call the courthouse, but I'm going to finish this little roux right here with a fine brush. I'm using a number 4 American Journey brush. I'm adding a little bit of gamboge, a little bit more of red. I just wanted a little more pop out of this right here. And here, it looked a little thin to me. And then just a little touch here. I'm going to go in and get some of this Sag Harbor or French gray and just let the gray kind of wander down in this blue a little bit like that. Just give her some spots of gray. And then I need a little wood color, and I need a little, just something that looks a little bit like maybe a nice maple. I think maybe a maple would look good. That's it right there. I just mixed a little sienna with a little bit of, I don't even know what that color is, but I like it. And I think these little handle parts need to be this, and then I think the ends of it, you ready for this? Here they go. I want a little shadow on that like this. I want the darker part to be just a little more brown, so I'm going to add a little brown in here. Then I might just add a little bit of biscuit dough on here. and you know what, I'm going to have to come back and finish the bowl in this because I just ran out of time telling you stories. But I'm going to do the handles of this. I'm going to do the handles of this rolling pin in Terry Tardy turquoise. There it is, right there. Left a little holiday in that one. I'm going to let that one alone right there too. So, hey, thanks for joining me this morning. I'll keep you posted on what my schedule is and how much trouble I'm in. And if I've got to reschedule one of my painting classes, if I can paint. But you've still got time to sign up. We're going to have fun painting. We're going to paint for 8 weeks in a row. I'm going to leave the class open all day today, give you a little more chance for some people to register. I've had a couple people say, oh my gosh, I got through the holidays and it wasn't the best time to sign up. And I go, I got it. You know, just hang on. We'll get you there. And so I'm leaving today open for that purpose. I'm still working on it because I've been on the road and I've been dealing with New Year's and family, not dealing with them, but man, how fun it was to have family over the holidays and be a short order cook and love on my family. And I love it. I really do. What I'll probably paint right here, and I'm just going to go ahead and sketch it in right now, is a big old dough bowl just like this. And I'm just going to put a mound of dough right in there like so. And we're going to get ready to make some biscuits. Okay? So, love that. I'm going to finish that up. You'll see that later today. Look, I just used 2 or 3 different colors on the rolling pin and gave it a little shading. My friends who do with markers, like Pat, she's brilliant at shading. The reason you shade is because it gives you some contrast in tonal color. We'll talk about that in the class too. I'm not going to get highly technical. Here's why. Because I'm not highly technical. Hey, love you guys being on the show. Paint what you see. Look across your coffee cup and out the window today. Maybe it's a tree. Maybe it's a row of Appalachian mountains. Maybe it's a wiry roof. If I paint tomorrow, I'll paint the squirrely one. And I'll put these together in a pair, maybe wiry and squirrely. And then a hen with a rolling pin. Before you take your last sip today from a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, just think of a couple people. I looked at my wall. Person I got to send a text to right now. Send them a note, send them a text, send them just call, leave a message on their phone today. And if you get them, say, hey, I just thought about you. Have a sip. See you later. All right. Blessings. I'll see you later. And I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. Let's turn this harmonica around.